I thought I want to run by you. Hang on real quick. I gotta take that swig of beer. There's a claim made by atheists, and they say that if God is all powerful, he can't be all good, and if he is all good, he can't be all powerful. How do you respond to this?
Well, the idea that God is all powerful is misconstrued. He made the universe and everything in it. I would say that that's as close to being all powerful as anything can get. To have that creative ability in practice, hypothetically speaking, is omnipotence.
Yeah.
The issue that atheists have is the fact that God can't contradict himself in the way that humans can.
Yeah.
So if God makes a rule and it's specific to conditions that are met, then he can't violate that rule. He can't violate his own nature. Light can't be darkness because light is by default light, and darkness is by default dark. So
darkness is the absence of light. You take away the light, it's dark.
You could also make the claim that light is the absence of darkness, though. So there's something fundamental.
Wait, how could you make that claim?
Well, simple.
Light isn't the absence of darkness.
Simple.
Light.
When God created the heavens and the earth, he said, "Let there be light." That implies that before there was light, there was darkness. That the implication behind that is that darkness is older than light. But you can go down a very large number of theoretical and theological rabbit holes in thinking that way. So,
because I wouldn't say that light is the absence of dark so much as the light replaced the dark. Because if the dark was there first and it got replaced by the light, therefore, now that they both exist, whenever there is darkness and there is no light, darkness is the absence of light.
Well, darkness can't banish light.
Are we talking spiritually or?
I'm just talking materially. Like, darkness has no choice but to retreat from light. And the human eye is designed to recognize light. It's how we see. So, even if darkness is the default chaotic state of things universally, again, barring any philosophical implications, the existence of light denotes the darkness because of its function in relationship to darkness. And for the record, I feel the need to mention that God in the Christian view is viewed as a God of light. There are many aspects of God in Christianity, but the fundamentals are that he's a God of mercy, a God of truth, a God of righteousness, a God of love. He's everything good, and there's nothing evil in him. But to go back to the original question, which was, if God is all-powerful, then he's not all good, and if he's all good, he can't be all-powerful. Was that?
Yeah, that's the claim. Yeah.
And the reason why that claim is made is because one could easily make a hypothetical situation in which, say the scripture, "Him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is a sin." Well, if God is all-powerful and he has every opportunity to do something good, then why doesn't he? And the reason for that is because we're talking about humans. And humans are innately born into sin.
Because
and just like light banishes darkness, God banishes sin because there is no evil in him. So that creates a relationship in which God has to obfuscate himself from us to protect us from his nature, because by his very nature he would eradicate us, just as light eradicates darkness. That's the synonymous nature of darkness and sin, and by extension death, because in the biblical perspective, sin leads to death, and God is a God of life. And it's said that if a man follows God's will and his commandments, he will live by them. And the morality of Western civilization, which has been the most prosperous civilization. The precepts and principles that successful people have lived by have been largely influenced by the Judeo-Christian worldview. If you read the book of Proverbs and you look at the truly incredible, and this is just one book, the truly incredible precepts that are in that particular book, and you see how they interplay with something as basic as the Ten Commandments. Success is almost an inevitability if you follow the given precepts and rules. It's not instantaneous, granted, but much like a muscle, much like a plant, any organic thing, really, anything that has life in it, there's a reliable potential for things to improve if you follow after God's will. And there's plenty of psychological literature to back that, because even psychologists advocate for living a true life, and that is another fundamentally Christian claim for reasons I've already mentioned. But again, I'm totally getting off track. The original question about God, by his own word, I suppose, being held responsible for the evil in the world if he's all-powerful, I would then go back to what I mentioned earlier about our relationship with God after the flesh. There's an enmity between us and God, and that enmity is irreconcilable if God can't contradict himself, unless we take initiative and by believing in his Son primarily, we become saved, and then God sees him instead of us. So then it's not our flesh that's alive, it's Christ alive in us, and that starts the process of atonement and something along the lines of self-improvement, but also proper self-regulation. Because I initially started off, the little tangent that I'm on now, and I'll shut up soon, by saying that too many people view Christianity as like a self-help thing, when in reality, the primary principle of it is to put to death the things of the flesh.
Yeah, boy.
And what that basically means is to live in a way that produces life as opposed to a way that produces death. And that is, again, like I said before, much easier said than done.